Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport, and today was the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, which actually has just finished mere seconds ago. I actually started this just as cars were crossing the line, so I'm getting way in very quickly. Shame it was such a dull Grand Prix once again, and I honestly thought things were spicing up and we were going to have a thrilling end to the season and every Grand Prix was going to be really exciting from now on. Did not expect Lando Norris to win by 23 seconds. And especially, as I said, Max Verstappen would win. But he didn't. He wasn't even in the same league. There were no real shocks anywhere in the field. It was all pretty much by the numbers. No retirements, which is nice to see. And even Logan Sargent made it to the end after his horrible-looking crash in third practice. Which, honestly, it doesn't do him any favours in terms of his career. Which, if it was even likely, he was going to continue on in F1 anyway. But otherwise, this weekend has been very, very clean. We haven't really had all that much controversy. In fact, I don't think we've really had any controversy. Albon getting disqualified, which I think Williams pretty much accepted right away, was a mistake from them. Which apparently was like 3mm or something. They should have shaved off, whatever. And Hamilton's bad qualifying, and he got a free-place grid drop as well. Sainz was out in Q2. It looked like it could be a spicy race. Unfortunately, it really wasn't. The only excitement we really got was Hamilton climbing his way through the field twice and Norris passing Verstappen on lap 18. Other than that, it looked pretty much set. I don't really have much else to say about it, in all honesty. But the championship is heating up. We've got, 9-10 races left. Monza's up next week. Not a lot's going to change before next week, I don't think. Monza might stress any engines that are near expiring if they're not changing them before then. But otherwise, I honestly think the status quo right now is Lando Norris is faster than Verstappen. They're the best two in the championship. They're going to be fighting for the championship. Norris has quite a few points to close up, but it looks like he could do it, which makes it all the more of a shame that McLaren didn't let him take the win in Hungary. If he had those extra points in his hand, he could... If he loses this championship by less than that points difference, by 4 or 5 points or something, Hungary is going to be a real mess looking back for McLaren. And if Norris blames them and we get some kind of driver shake-up, or even just like Norris eventually leaves on bad terms within a couple of years because of that race, it wouldn't shock me completely. Everywhere else, Hamilton did a good job. Russell was pretty mediocre. I don't know where Mercedes' overall pace went. He looked pretty quick at the start of qualifying, and then obviously Hamilton had a bad qualifying, but Russell did okay. And his first stint was decent. And then just the second half of the race, it just seemed like he had nothing. Sergio Perez in 6th. He's redeemed himself a little bit, I guess. There's no big mistakes from him this weekend, but not really much in the way of overall speed either. Sainz did a fairly good job. Piastri might be a little bit disappointed to finish 4th. He wasn't too far behind Leclerc, he just couldn't close that gap down to overtake him. Gasly and Fernando Alonso in the points, I'm sure they'll be thrilled. Everyone else was pretty much where you'd expect them to be. It was another good job from Haas to get their cars up and around the points, but they couldn't quite manage to get in the points. RB were practically nowhere this weekend. In fact, I don't even remember seeing them on track. Stake were as anonymous as they always were. Yeah, it was a pretty dull race. Williams were at the back doing what Williams do. Albon gave it a good go on a long strategy, but eventually dropped back. That was pretty much it. That was the race. There was not much else going on. So, everything else. Jack Doohan being announced at Alpine for next year. Fantastic. I love Jack Doohan. I thought he was great in Formula 2. Had a lot of bad luck. Hopefully that doesn't carry over to Formula 1, but I think he's a great addition to Alpine. And again, it's just nice seeing new blood on the grid. We've got a couple of new drivers next year, with Ollie Behrman joining the grid as well. Probably Andrea Kimi Antonelli at some point. Liam Lawson hopefully might be returning. We'll have to see. A couple of weeks ago, I did my rating the drivers at the halfway point of the season video, which I tend to do every year. And there were some confusion over some of the marks, and some people were very angry that I gave Max Verstappen a 7 and Lando Norris a 9. I did say at the start of the video that is based on their expectations as well as their general performance. when you look at Verstappen and you saw like the 15 wins he had last year, the great start to the season he's had, it did drop off towards the midpoint of the mid-season. Austria onwards especially. And he did make that mistake at Austria where he did drive into Lando. So it's not been a 9 out of 10 season for Verstappen. It just hasn't. And I think this race really kind of illuminates the fact that this hasn't been perfect for Verstappen this year. 7, I think, is a relatively fair score out of 10. Lando Norris, honestly, a win was always the target. He's done that, but not only that, he's dragged McLaren into title contention in the Constructors and himself as potentially being a Drivers' Champion in 2024. It doesn't get much better than that. Yes, his starts have been dodgy, and they were here again, but he's not been too bad, and so I think a 9 is fair for him and Piastri. The other one that seemed to confuse people was Zhou being better than Bottas. Again, it's based mostly around the expectation that Bottas being more experienced would be clear of his younger teammate, which he hasn't necessarily been. And Zhou's been decent at times. If you said to me, recall a great Valtteri Bottas drive from this year, I honestly couldn't think of one. Guan Yu Zhou, he did a decent job in the sprint race. There's been a couple of times where he's looked half decent in qualifying or on the pace in the race, just not in the points. Stake aren't giving him a decent car. We're not giving Valtteri Bottas a decent car. But based on what I think they should be doing, I think Zhou is doing a slightly better job than Valtteri Bottas. That's simply it. Like, if you disagree with me, that's fine. But I had slightly lower expectations of Zhou than I did for Bottas. Neither had high expectations. But I do think Zhou, he's doing a good job. He's just not in a package to show it off right now. So that is pretty much all I have to say about the Dutch Grand Prix. Next week is the Italian Grand Prix. Hopefully it's a lot more exciting. We get more overtaking, a bigger fight for the lead. Hopefully it's a bit closer than 23 seconds. And I'll be back to talk about it next weekend as always. But there'll be videos in the week as well. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you find this to be a really dull Grand Prix? Or did you really enjoy it? Let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching and have a good one.